Welcome to the deep dive. We know your reading list is, well, probably overflowing.
Impossible, usually.
Exactly. So we take that stack of articles, research, notes you've shared, and we really try to cut straight to the core insights.
Giving you the most compelling and digestible analysis we can.
Today, we are diving into something genuinely unique. It's a conceptual project called The Bridge Between Worlds, a two-spirit journey of memory, music, and resilience.
Yeah, it's this proposed AI-generated multimedia piece.
Fusing ancient Lakota wisdom with some pretty sophisticated sonic technology, it tells this powerful story of cultural reclamation.
It's incredibly ambitious.
Yeah.
It's not just framed as an album or a story.
Right.
The creators position it as a tool for cultural repair, designed specifically to make memory audible again.
Wow, make memory audible.
It uses deep historical knowledge as its base, but then employs these really cutting-edge methods to explore identity, survival, and ancestral trauma.
Okay, so we'll guide you through the whole thing. We'll start with the history, the context you need,
Mhm.
then trace the main character's journey.
Yes.
Right. And then dig into the technical side, the sound architecture, which they frame as a kind of ceremony itself.
Yeah, it's a sustained ceremony.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So before we get into the story itself, we really have to establish that historical grounding.
Yeah, the context is key here, Lakota context specifically.
Exactly. Where two-spirit individuals were, integral figures long before any colonial contact.
And maybe just quickly for listeners new to the term two-spirit, it's an English term, right?
Yeah.
Adopted by some indigenous communities.
Yes, adopted more recently, kind of as an umbrella term, for individuals embodying both masculine and feminine spirits, roles, energies. It points back to these established, often sacred identities that existed pre-colonization.
And the sources really stress these weren't marginal roles at all.
Not at all. They were central. We actually have this powerful quote from Candy Brings Plenty, the Oglala Lakota Sioux activist.
Oh, yeah?
She stressed that two-spirit people were here before contact and were literally, quote, the backbone of our society.
The backbone.
Yeah. Teachers, political decision makers, medicine practitioners, warriors, and much more. Their roles were fluid, essential, and honored.
So if that was the reality, then the tragedy is the systematic, violent effort to just erase it through colonization.
Precisely.
How does the project talk about that? What kind of narrative tools does it use for that specific wound?
Well, the main metaphor they use is the colonial mask.
Colonial mask, okay.
And it represents exactly what you said, that forced covering of identity. Through legal bans, forced schooling, missionary pressure, it was this multi-pronged attack.
Designed to destroy indigenous concepts of self, of gender plurality.
Yes. It's a really visceral image, that mask.
It is. But the narrative also digs into this complex consequence, the elder's silence.
Ah, yes. The elder's silence. That's crucial for understanding the path towards resurgence later on.
How so?
It's presented as, well, a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's a deep wound, this absence where knowledge should be.
Right.
But on the other hand, it was also a sophisticated survival strategy.
Wow.
Elders intentionally chose to withhold certain stories, songs, protocols.
To protect descendants.
Exactly, to protect them from the same persecution they had faced.
Okay, but that raises a huge question. If silence was intentional, protective, doesn't breaking that silence now carry risks, like exposure or cultural misuse? How does the story handle that tension?
That tension is really the ethical core of the protagonist's journey. It reframes revival. It's not just about finding something lost.
It's about careful work.
Ethical labor, exactly. Discerning why things were hidden, respecting that history, even as you try to bring things back.
That sets up the protagonist perfectly. The story centers on this exiled character, 𝗧𝗓. Tell us about the name.
𝗧𝗓. It means rock or stone in Lakota, and it carries just immense weight.
How so?
In Lakota cosmology, 𝗧𝗓 is the primordial creation being, the very first entity to exist.
First, wow.
The source of water, of life itself. They call 𝗧𝗓 the eldest grandparent.
The eldest grandparent. That immediately links the character to deep time, to endurance, not just a social role, but creation itself.
And it connects directly to ceremony, too. Think of the ◧𗕖𝗡, the sweat lodge.
The heated stones.
Right, those heated stones carry the prayers, they connect people to the spirit world. So 𝗧𝗓's identity is literally tied to that sacred conduit of endurance and prayer.
Okay, so the story follows 𝗧𝗓 through 12 tracks. Starts with exile, trauma, but the first moment of repair is finding chosen family.
Yes, at the edge of the firelight. It's this community of outcasts, trans folks, queer people, finding kinship outside those rigid colonial boxes.
And then the big personal revelation comes later.
In the vision in the river, 𝗧 sees their reflection, sees their masculine and feminine aspects shifting, like in a rhythm.
They don't merge into one?
No, they don't resolve. They shift, merge, coexist. And 𝗧𝗧 understands himself as the bridge, capable of holding both truths.
That realization then leads to the climax, the trial of mirrors.
Yes, where authorities try to force 𝗧𝗧 to conform, to choose just one gender.
But instead
of choosing, 𝗧𝗧 sings the forgotten song.
Ah.
And that act, singing that suppressed truth, it's explosive. The sound literally shatters the mirrors.
Symbolizing the colonial rupture.
Yeah.
The false choices.
Exactly. Shattering those false binaries. It's this huge moment of cultural and personal awakening. It reverses the trauma, awakens something hidden in everyone watching.
Wow. That image. The forgotten song physically shattering the tools of oppression. It feels less like history and more like a blueprint for now.
I think that's exactly the intent. It turns remembering ancestral knowledge into this direct act of political and spiritual restoration.
Okay, so we've seen 𝗧𝗧's spiritual journey. Now let's talk mechanics. How does the sound production itself, the frequencies, the notes, how does that mirror this journey?
This is where it gets really interesting. The technical design is maybe the most radical part.
Yeah.
The whole album is structured as a sustained ceremony. And that happens through the constant presence of specific sounds. They aren't just background noise.
They're ritual signifiers.
Exactly. Like they use elemental soundscapes throughout. Water for memory, renewal, fire for community, purification, that spark of uprising, and crucially, wind, the earth's breath.
And this wind sound is paired with something specific, right? The Schumann resonance.
Yes, the Schumann resonance, 7.83 hertz. It's often called the Earth's natural heartbeat.
That electromagnetic frequency between the Earth and the ionosphere.
That's the one. It hums constantly beneath every single track. It's the ultimate grounding mechanism, literally linking the listener's internal state to the planet's own rhythm.
Okay, so that's the grounding. What about the 220 hertz carrier wave? Is that just musical, or is there ritual significance there too?
It feels like both.
Yeah.
A3, 220 hertz. It's described as warm, organic, very resonant.
Blends well with voices, traditional instruments.
Beautifully. It acts as a steady frame for the music, keeping the technology, especially the binaural beats, from sounding too, clinical or sterile.
Which allows them to use binaural beats, BBs, as a contemporary tool for altered states, like deep focus and ceremony.
Exactly, without it being distracting. And this is where the sophistication really shines. They develop this three-phase arc.
Mapping brainwave states to the story.
Directly onto 𝗧𝗧's narrative progression.
Okay, walk us through that. What's the listener supposed to feel? How do the brainwaves help?
So phase 1, tracks 1 to 4. That covers the search for memory, hidden traditions. It uses theta waves, 5.5 hertz.
Theta, deep meditation, dreaming, accessing subconscious stuff.
Right, guiding the listener inward, just like 𝗧𝗧 is delving into their own past and the collective past.
Then phase 2, clarity, revelation.
Exactly. Tracks 5 to 8 shift to alpha, 10.0 hertz. Alpha is often called the bridge frequency. Calm awareness, focused attention, insight.
Like 𝗧𝗧's vision in the river.
Precisely. That moment of clarity, understanding their truth.
Then the final phase, tracks 9 to 12. That moves into action, the awakening.
Right. So that needs more energy. That phase uses low beta, 14.1 hertz.
Beta, that's like alert focus, outward activity.
Yes. It's designed to awaken and energize the listener, mirroring the story's shift towards that collective uprising and transformation.
It's incredibly specific. And the sources mention a key detail.
Hmm.
The BBs are mixed really low, negative 24 dB.
Yeah, felt more than heard.
Which shows remarkable restraint. The text supports the ritual, it doesn't intrude.
That respect for the listener's experience, especially with these concepts, seems paramount.
Okay, let's address the elephant in the room, maybe. This is an AI-generated conceptual project. How does using AI, this very modern technical tool, fit ethically with restoring ancient, traditional, communal knowledge?
That's a really important question, and the source material tackles it directly.
How?
It stresses that the AI is used mainly for sonic generation, pattern matching, structuring the compositional architecture.
Okay, so the structure, the sound patterns.
Right, not for generating the core narrative or the cultural data itself. The fundamental wisdom, the protocols, historical insights like that. Candy brings plenty, quote, that's all sourced from indigenous scholarship, community guidance.
So the AI is framed as a facilitator of sound, not a creator of truth.
Exactly, a tool for structure, not the source of tradition. That distinction is vital.
Okay, good. Let's shift back to the narrative outcome then. 𝗧𝗔𝗧𝗔𝗡 defiance, shattering the mirrors, that leads to contemporary resurgence. What does that look like?
Well, it's not just personal healing. It becomes this collective phenomenon. The narrative shows this through the gathering of voices.
Where fragmented traditions get woven back together.
Exactly, showing that revival is fundamentally communal. It might have been silenced, but it wasn't broken.
And it starts in the Lakota context, but then the fire returns, becomes global.
Yeah, it ignites this broader movement, reclaiming suppressed queer and plural histories everywhere, Africa, Asia, Europe, drawing parallels.
And the project argues this resurgence needs deliberate intergenerational labor.
Absolutely. Balancing the energy and expression of youth with the deep lineage and protocol held by elders.
Okay, but going back to the elders' silence being protective, how does this project model the youth ethically bridging that gap without overstepping or appropriating what was intentionally hidden?
The model seems to be based on active stewardship and, frankly, humility.
How so?
It involves seeking permission, demonstrating you have the capacity, acknowledging the pain of the wound before you try to heal it. It's about restoring dignity through remembered truth. And that labor itself is framed as a powerful political act.
Challenging those imposed colonial orders.
Worldwide, yeah.
So if we step back from all the pieces, what's the ultimate realization in this whole conceptual journey?
It comes in the final part, the balance restored. The realization is that the journey wasn't really about finding something totally new that was lost forever.
It was about remembering.
Exactly, remembering what was always known, the core truths about human plurality, about two-spirit traditions. They were just waiting for the right moment, the right conditions to be sung back into active existence.
Wow. So this whole conceptual project, fusing ancient cosmology, historical trauma, modern AI, and audio tech, it's designed as this durable force for healing, for cultural stewardship.
It's an incredibly layered way to tackle those intergenerational effects of colonial erasure.
Yeah.
And it really demonstrates that cultural recovery needs careful ethical work. We have to recognize, like we discussed, that some traditions were intentionally hidden for survival, that silence itself was a powerful, necessary tool.
That complexity leaves us with a really compelling final question for you, the listener, to think about. This project offers a framework for how cultural recovery needs that ethical care. So what does it mean for you to be an ethical listener and ally in this kind of process?
Especially when you know some knowledge was deliberately veiled for protection.
Right. How do you amplify the voices speaking now without appropriating or even risking what was meant to stay guarded?
It forces us to think about amplification, not just as signal boosting, but as requiring real humility and stewardship, not just consumption.
That is a powerful thought to sit with. Thank you for diving deep with us today on this, exploring that critical link between embodied listening and cultural stewardship.
Yeah, fascinating stuff.
We really encourage you to reflect on these concepts further.